No one doubts that sleep is a very important part of a healthy life. But we've all had those nights when you don't go to bed, when you're out celebrating with friends, working, studying, or raising children, and when you usually go to bed in the morning and get up in the evening when you don't know what else to do or whether to go back to sleep. But what would happen to someone who did not go to bed at all? 24 hours without sleep. When a person does not sleep for a whole day, his body starts to undergo changes, his brain starts to act like a person who is easily intoxicated. It becomes difficult for him to make decisions, and when he does make them, they often become irrational. Memory is impaired, coordination and hand-eye communication is reduced, and it becomes difficult to concentrate. Emotional becomes less predictable, and hearing impaired. People who are so sleep deprived often fall asleep at the wheel or die in accidents when they are inattentive. And that's just 24 hours of sleep. I have been interviewed for a job where I was offered the 24 hours of work and then the rest for 3 days. I can't imagine the productivity of a person in that state, especially when it comes to mental work. After such offers, they never saw me again. 36 hours. Without sleep, after so much time without sleep, the body starts to act negatively physically, in addition to all the things I mentioned before. Blood pressure rises, often hormones are out of balance. It's also difficult to remember what happened even a few hours ago, so that memory lapses occur. If this happens at least a few times a month, it can lead to cardiovascular disease. 48 hours. Without sleep, that's 2 days. Without sleep around the time, a lot of microinflammation occurs. It's like any other time when the mind goes dark and everything shuts down. It can last from half second to 30 seconds. It doesn't matter what the person is doing then. It is difficult for a person to orient himself to what is happening around him. 72 hours. Without sleep, it is 3 days from the point that the human body often experiences hallucinations. The brain function even more difficult. It becomes difficult or impossible to hold even a simple conversation, and it becomes difficult or impossible to perform even the simplest task. The longest person ever to go without sleep was 17-year-old Randy Gardner in 1965, who managed 11 days without sleep. This is believed to be the human ceiling. It was a scientific experiment to keep him awake by stressing him, pouring ice water over him, or drugging him. 96 hours. After 4 days without sleep, the experiment Randy suddenly saw fog all around him, and suddenly all sorts of things turned into people, and he didn't know who he was, and he didn't know who he was, but he thought he was a black footballer. To put it mildly, all the time left before 11 days without sleep turned Gary into a blinking vegetable, so nothing interesting happened anymore but the signs that I have already told you by now. Is it possible to die from sleep deprivation even though the very fact of not sleeping does not theoretically kill a person, but effects it has on the body can make it fatal? After just a few hours of insomnia, the human organs began to shut down and the brain limits its functions. In addition, the inability to make decisions and stay alert often sends people into various accidents and catastrophics. Sleep deprivation, in order for a child to grow up healthy and functioning normally, it is mandatory for him to sleep around 10-12 hours every night. For already developing minds and growing physical bodies, this is really needed. For an adult, 7 or 8 hours of sleep is enough. However, adults often do not get enough sleep. If a person does not get the right amount of the sleep on the regular basis, it affects the whole body and often leads to quite serious diseases. Many of you associate the brain with the respiratory tract and the heart. It also leads to various sleep disorders, which can make things even worse. Those who do not get enough sleep on a regular basis begin to yawn frequently, are moodless, irritable, and tired. Then they find it difficult to learn. They often forget everything, have no motivation, become discouraged, everything falls out of hand. Their appetite for carbohydrates increases, and their sex drive decreases. Sleep deprivation weakens the immune system, which does not produce enough cytokines for fight infections and diseases. Often sleep deprivation leads to change in the hormone leptin and ghrelin, which disrupts feelings of hunger and satiety, as well as it triggers the body to release insulin, which encourages the body to store fat. This can lead to overweight, obesity, or even diabetes. Sleep is essential for the body function normally. It helps the body to heal and restore its chemical balance and improves memory retention. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe for future videos.